Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of reviewing NHL teams off-season so far. As today we're going to be talking about the Arizona Coyotes and their absolutely tear down and rebuilding of their team right now as they're tanking for, of course, Shane Wright and Conor Bedard, as we have some two huge drafts coming up in the next 2 years. But before we get into talking about the Arizona Coyotes, I'd like to just say, if you are new to the channel, make sure to slap that subscribe button and hit that like button as well. That'll be very much appreciated, boys. So let's get into this one. But before I do, before we get into it, I'll kind of go over the whole series, what we do, because if you guys are new, you might not know what we do with this whole series. So what I do is we go over all the free agent signings, the trades, and the drafting of all 32 NHL teams. I'm actually saying 32 this year because Kraken got involved this season as we got to see their expansion draft. So that will be a fun episode to do on the Kraken. But we're going to be talking about the Arizona Coyotes today and all the moves that they did. And right now, I'm going to be showing you guys their amount of draft picks they have. It is nuts. This is what I would call something I would do in EA Sports because of the fact of these type of trades were just genius moves by Bill Armstrong. He did an absolute amazing job stocking up on five second round picks, another first round pick, bolstered up on a lot of picks in the future in 2024, 2023, and he's probably just going to continue getting more. I've been hearing rumors about probably Dvorak maybe being traded. You could probably see even some of these other guys. I've been hearing rumors about Phil Kessel as well. Most likely he'll be moved at the deadline, but this Arizona Coyotes team, they're ripping apart their team. I gotta say, I'm loving it. Most of the fans probably won't be loving it, but if you look at these trades, you should be loving this rip down of the Arizona Coyotes. First of all, they didn't have a lot of prospects upcoming. They did. They lost their first round pick last year because of John Chayka cheating. So the Arizona Coyotes went and got a first round pick from the Vancouver Canucks, which we're going to be talking about that trade later on. But what Arizona did was, bolster up their prospect system a little bit more, and going into next year with 5 second round picks, you're going to be able to fill up that prospect core super easy, especially with these next two drafts and how highly touted these next two drafts are with Shane Wright and Conor Bedard. There's no doubt. Why not tank? Why not try to go and get some of those guys when it hasn't been working, when you're trying to use free agency to build a team, draft a few players and then use free agency to build a team? It's not how it's going to work there in Arizona. It's not a big market. You're going to have to use the rebuilding tactics, and that's why I really enjoyed this year's offseason for the Arizona Coyotes. The first deal that they made was sending Adin Hill over to the San Jose Sharks. They picked up Cormier and a second round pick, which, this is what the value was going to be for Adin Hill. He hasn't really got too much time to shine. He's been an AHL stud, so we'll see how well he does there in San Jose. But that second round pick, of course, is just bolstering up the picks that they need. And then going into the next trade, you get Andrew Ladd, and for taking his salary cap, you get a second round pick, another second round pick, and a third round pick. Of course, all these have conditions, which I'm not going to get too much into, but they get picks, right? They get a crap ton of picks, and they didn't have to give up a single thing. Nothing. They didn't have to give up anything. And in the next trade, they get Shane Gostisbehere a second and a seventh for free. What? I was like, when I seen this deal, I was like, man, Shane Gostisbehere is not that bad of a defenseman, especially offensively. And as you guys see with the next deal, they traded away Oliver Ekman-Larsson and Conor Garland, which, as you guys all know, Oliver Ekman-Larsson was probably one of the better offensively minded defensemen with the Arizona Coyotes, and they just picked up one of the other, well, I guess a better version of Oliver Ekman-Larsson right now, right? I mean, Oliver Ekman-Larsson used to be a stud back in 2016. Nowadays, he is the shell of himself. So we'll see how well he does there in Vancouver, but I feel like he's just going to be not that good. But anyways, we're talking about this Philadelphia Flyers trade. Getting Shane Gostisbehere, I think, is just going to work perfectly for the Arizona Coyotes. Last year, he put up 20 points in 41 games. This was a guy that put up 65 points in 78 games. This was a guy that used to be a lethal offensive defenseman and still is. If we take a look at his analytics from Jfresh, now make sure to go check out his Patreon. The link will be down in the description below. He has some great cards, and like I've been saying, every episode will show one of the cards, and we're going to be showing off Shane Gostisbehere here as, it's not bad. His offensive stats are great, and especially the power play, which I think Arizona Coyotes need a guy that could play on that top power play. You know, Chaturin is not too bad, but I think Gostisbehere will just be able to fit perfectly up on that top power play for the team, and especially just be that top offensive defenseman going forward for the Arizona Coyotes. And then moving forward, maybe if he does get back up to good value, maybe you could dump him off for a trade. Like, how many years does he have left? He has 2 years left. That is going to be easy as hell to get rid of next year. Especially if he has a good season next year, you could potentially you got this guy for free, and now you might be able to trade this guy for even more assets. That absolutely blows my mind how smart these deals were for the Arizona Coyotes, and how Shane Gostisbehere was just given to them for free. And that's just how it was this year, you know, with a lot of teams that we'll probably be talking about. We're going to be seeing a lot of these deals because of the flat cap that we really had to deal with this past season. So we'll move on to the next deal. Arizona Coyotes pick up Orceral, Beagle, Eriksson, a first-round pick, which ended up being Dylan Gunther, second-round pick, and a seventh-round pick for Oliver Ekman-Larsson and Conor Garland. Now, this was another steal for the Arizona Coyotes. This is really, you know, a slight little win for the Vancouver Canucks getting Conor Garland, but Oliver Ekman-Larsson, you're practically picking up Louis Eriksson 2.0. Now, we're going to be talking about the Vancouver Canucks later on, but Louis Eriksson, Jay Beagle, and Orceral all have 1 year left, while Oliver Ekman-Larsson had, 6 years left? Arizona Coyotes saved themselves a lot by getting rid of Larson. A lot. And able to pick up Eriksson, Beagle, and Orceral, who cares? They have 1 year left. They're going to be gone next year. Like, does not hurt the Arizona Coyotes at all, especially since they're rebuilding. You know, Conor Garland did want to stay there in Arizona, but with picking up Dylan Gunther is going to be a seriously good sniper for the future of the Arizona Coyotes. And in this deal, this is the icing on the cake. 24 points in 12 games. He was great in the World Junior Championships, AJHL. He was just terrific. I mean, this guy's a really exciting player to look at. And if I was Arizona Coyotes fans, I would be really excited about this deal, because you practically got rid of one of the worst defensemen right now in the league in Larson, and picked up a great player in Gunther, and a few picks and contracts that are going to expire next year. Whew. What a steal. And then the next deal, they picked up Anton Strawman, a prospect, and a second-round pick in 2024, and they had to give up a seventh-round pick. But once again, more picks, more prime real estate, another pick that they picked up, and then the other big trade where they picked up Connor Timmins, which should be a good top four defenseman for the future, first-round pick in this upcoming season, and also a conditional third-round pick in 2024 for Mr. Darcy Kemper. Will be sent off to Colorado with $1 million retained. And I gotta say, every one of these trades was a W for the Arizona Coyotes. I did not see one single loss with any of these trades. And that's the thing with rebuilding. You could practically do whatever you want and not lose any deals, especially if you're selling. I mean, you can lose value, but the way that they're selling is so smart, right? Like, they sold off some players, but they also got a ton of picks for free. They didn't have to give up anything, but for the fact that they just had to use their salary cap to take these players in, which is just amazing. So now we'll talk about the draft for the Arizona Coyotes after just amazing trades left, right, and center. They did pretty good drafting too. Josh Doan, which I think is Shane Doan's son, who played his entire career here in Arizona, and I think he's just this Josh Doan kid. I was looking at his stats, and honestly, this kid could turn out to be something pretty good. In the UCHL last year, he had 14 points in 45 games, right? The next year, he had 70 points in 53 games. That is an amazing jump up from 1 year to the next. And then he also put up another 5 points in 8 games in the playoffs. This is somebody to be really excited about if you're Arizona Coyotes fans, because he has the potential to be a really good player. Otherwise, I don't really know too many of these other names. It doesn't look that bad of a draft, especially with Dylan Gunther. I think it was a really good draft for the Arizona Coyotes. And then on to their free agent signings, which I don't think they lost a whole lot. Actually, they lost a decent amount. Goligoski, which he's old. It doesn't really matter. He was aging, 36 years old. I don't think the Arizona Coyotes really needed him, especially since they just got Anton Strawman and a bunch of other players like Shane Gostisbehere. Antti Ranta. He was injury riddled here in Arizona Coyotes, was never really able to be that starting goalie Arizona thought he was going to be. He's going to be going off to Carolina now. Jordan Orceral, he was just a top 6 defenseman going off to Detroit. Michael Bunting, I feel like, is going to be a big loss for them. He was a crazy good goal scorer. But he's going to be going off to Toronto, and I mean, that's a good acquisition by them. But then they came off and got Ryan Dzingel, which I still think is a very good acquisition for them as well. Also, in other news, they also did lose Rick Tocchet as a coach as well. He's going to be gone, and they hired Andre Tournier, which I think is a really good coach. He was the Canadian World Junior coach. He was an absolutely amazing guy, and I think he'll just be perfect for this young rebuilding team that they're going to be going through. So, the other free agent signings they got was the KHL Russian Dimitri Janskin as well. I think that was the other big signing that they got, where they signed him to a 3.2 one-year deal, which once again I think is another great deal for the Arizona Coyotes. Dimitri Janskin hasn't really been able to prove himself in the NHL just yet. You know, you look at a lot of his stats, he kind of struggled in the NHL to put up a lot of big-time points, right? But then he went to the KHL and just seemed to find some sort of a hint of offense and goal scoring prowess. I mean, the guy was lighting it up, 38 goals in 59 games with 60 points. So this is an exciting guy, I guess, for the Arizona Coyotes moving forward. And this guy can produce like a good 20 goals. This could be somebody that you could potentially use as another trade asset, or a guy that maybe potentially would stay on the team for the future. Now, this Arizona Coyotes team is not going to be placing very high in the standings. That's without a doubt. They are not. They're not going to be a team that's going to be up in the top of the Central Division. They'll most likely be at the bottom, especially with the goaltending of Carter Hutton and Joseph Cornier, which is their tandem, which is just absolutely nuts. Now, I'm going to have to give this team a very good grade because of the fact that they did what they need to do, a rebuild. And so with that fact, I think I'm going to give this team an A+. They got tons of free assets for free, tons of picks for free, and players for free. So honestly, I'm giving this team an A+ with what they did during this rebuild. I'm excited to see what else they'll do, and maybe they'll get Shane Wright or Conor Bedard, which would just turn around this franchise without a doubt. So I think keep up the good work, Bill Armstrong. Continue stacking upon those draft picks like it's EA NHL, right? Like, continue stacking up those picks, and that's the smartest thing to do here with the Arizona Coyotes. But for right now, guys, I think I'm going to end the video here. Tell me, guys, in the comment section below on how you thought the Arizona Coyotes did during this offseason, because honestly, I thought they did pretty good, and you guys should be pretty excited about them. But for right now, guys, I'm going to end the video here. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Adios, amigos.